Good morning, listeners. You're welcome to this week's Ag Report. I'm Jim Finn. My guests this morning are Philip Long, a veterinary surgeon who talks about anti-parasitic products, Bernard Lennon from Marfield, just outside Clonmel. Listeners, my first guest this morning is James Milan from Chagas, and we are going to have a little chat about looking at the breeding season, rather, for suckler cows. Good morning, James, and thanks for joining us.
Morning, Jim. Thanks very much for having me on the show.
Okay, good to see a little bit of a take up in the weather this week.
Yeah, no, I think it couldn't have come at a better time, and I think it's lifted a lot of people's moods as well. And like, there's going to be a lot of work done in fields now in the next couple of days as well. So it's great to see it. We've had a lot of rain over the winter, and I think it's about time that it dried up anyway as well.
Okay, getting back to down to brass with regards to the breeding, and particularly for the suckler cow. Has the season really begun for them yet?
So, Jim, yeah, so it's probably, I suppose, some of the earlier calving herds we'll be looking at, probably starting the end of April, the 1st of May, and I suppose for calving around the 1st of February. And, in general, you'd be probably looking maybe at, maybe the second week in May when it'll really take off on suckler farms. But I suppose, like where there is an opportunity for farmers, maybe if they wanted to, they could plan maybe on using the likes of a synchronization program for heifers, in order to maybe breed replacements from those animals. And if they're doing that, then like they really need to start planning, 10 to 12 days in advance to make sure that all their ducks are in order and that the IM technician is lined up and the vet, in order to start and have the synchronization program ready for that time as well, Jim. So, it's now is the time to be there and maybe also to be selecting bulls as well, because there's no point waiting for the eye technician to come out and ask him if he got, X bull in the tank. They may not be available. And I suppose also if farmers are purchasing bulls at the moment, which they would be, you know, it's timely to be looking at what type of indices you're looking at in terms of whether it's a terminal bull or a replacement type bull that you're buying for the herd as well. So, now is the time, and you might even be too late even at this stage, but you need to look at those figures now at this stage.
And James, what should a farmer look for in a bull? For the suckler herd, is it? Do they look at the genomics? Do they look at, the easy calving side of it? There's so much involved here. So,
Yeah, so Jim, I suppose, look, a lot of suckler farmers that are in the SCIP program, a lot of them they will all be genomically testing their calves, so they'll have a genomic result for their animals, in terms of what they'd look for in a bull. So I suppose the Eurostar figure that is there, it's really split into two main sub-indexes, and you're looking at both the terminal and the replacement index. And the majority of calves born in suckler farms are born to, or they're sired by stock bulls. And I suppose that can cause a bit of a problem in times in that, you may want to have a bull that's high for both terminal and replacement, and sometimes it's not possible, and that's why we would be encouraging, some AI use, and whether you use it on a synchronization program on heifers, for instance, for breeding replacements. And in that case, then you're looking at the replacement index, and you're looking at using as high a replacement index as possible. Calving ease is another big one. A lot of suckler farmers are part time, and there's no fun in trying to calve, and trying to to calve animals from a difficult calving sire. And we know with the price of stock at the moment, what a live calf is worth. So I suppose calving is a huge priority for suckler farmers. And I suppose if we're looking at, especially if we're picking a bull out for heifers, you're looking at trying to pick a bull that has a good calving age figure, maybe less than 6%, for instance, on heifers, but also that bull has high reliability for that. Now, if it's a stock bull, it mightn't, but you might look back through families of that bull and make sure that all of those families back along were easy calving, just to try and increase the chance of making sure that he's an easy calving sire for heifers. But calving ease is a big thing, and I think it's like the calf is better off growing outside the cow than inside the cow. And I think the fact that there's a lot more part-time farmers in suckling now at the moment, it's a huge consideration on farms, Jim.
Well, look at the bull is only 50% of the project. You have the cow as well. How, and I'm looking at it from the point of view, a difficult spring. A lot of animals are only just now going out to grass. They have been in for months and months and months. So, what should the farmer, when he's looking at his cows or heifers, what should he be looking at to make certain sure that they are in the right condition to start the breeding season?
Yeah, Jim. So look, I suppose first of all, in the breeding season, what's very important is that they're first of all on a rising pain and nutrition as well. So, the fact the weather has changed at the moment, that's good. And I suppose there's probably one upside to the fact that maybe some cows weren't out. There should be a lot of grass on farms that haven't grazed to date, that haven't a huge amount of their farm grazed off. So you'd be hoping that when they do go out, that there's plenty of grass, and look, there's an opportunity there now for farmers maybe to get fertilizer out. And, if you can keep the cows on the rising plane of nutrition during the breeding season, that's very important. Like I know that the horses probably already bolted in terms of keeping condition on cows, but in general, suckler cows, if they've been on good quality silage, they won't milk as much, for instance, as dairy cows, so they're not going to lose as much condition. But if they've been getting a kilo maybe a day plus good quality silage, they probably would be still okay in a decent body condition score of around 3. I suppose for the heifers, you would be looking that they would be up to roughly 60% of the mature weight of a cow. So they'd want to be, for most cases, if, for maybe likes of a Smithfield cross-limiting type cow suckling system, those heifers would want to be somewhere in the region of, 420, 440 kilos at AIing. And look, again, I suppose from what can you do from now on, I suppose the main things are just to make sure that they have plenty of rest, that they're on a rising plane of nutrition, that you're not going to be bringing them back in and rehousing them again during the breeding season or anything like that, 2 weeks' time or a week's time. And they're the animals maybe to prioritise as well. Like for maybe if you're afraid that maybe cows aren't cycling, other options could be explored, maybe likes of, removing the calves from the cows or bringing the cows into the calves, for twice a day suckling, just to try and break that bond, to try and get them back cycling as well. That may be a help also. But for heifers, you'd like to have them cycling obviously before, because, their conception rates will be lower from the first, once they hit puberty and their first cycle, the conception rates are normally only around 15%, whereas by the third cycle, those conception rates will be up at around 69, 70%. So, you'll want to have them growing in time. But I suppose the main thing now is to have them on a rising plane of nutrition and not to have any setbacks from now, until until the end of the breeding season, Jim. And I suppose maybe even on another sideline, maybe just if farmers, haven't vaccinated for the likes of blue tongue, you're still not too late. You get your first shot in and maybe a booster in 3 weeks later. So, although you might miss out a small bit, at least you will get the protection from 5 weeks time. If you do the first shot today, you'll have a good level of immunity within 5 weeks of the first shot, bearing in mind that the second booster is going in 3 weeks and 2 weeks afterwards then to get your max immunity. So that's not too late either. So that's probably something just to bear in mind as well for the coming breeding season, Jim.
So that would be Teagasc's advice, that farmers should vaccinate for blue tongue.
I think so, Jim, because look, I think it's a matter of kind of weighing up the risks on a lot of farms and, just looking at what's happening in other countries. And I suppose also the fact that, cattle prices are, quite high at the moment, and nobody wants the problems that, other countries have encountered with calves, for instance, with likes of dummy calves and things like that from animals that were infected with blue tongue. So if we can avoid all those things, I think we should. I know a lot of the research farms in Teagasc, for instance, they would have all vaccinated for blue tongue. And, look, I think, again, it's you weigh up the risk of it, but I think it's, it's, to me, it's not worth taking that risk. There's a lot of unknowns with the disease, and I suppose we have an opportunity now to try and make a difference, and I think we should try and take it if we can.
Okay, well, look, James, we're out of time. I want to thank you ever so much for joining us this morning and giving us all that good advice. That, listeners, was James Mullane, who is with Teagasc.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Listeners, my next guest this morning is Philip Long, and Philip Long is a veterinary surgeon, and he's with me to talk about two events that Liffey Mills have coming up next week, the 5th and the 7th of May, and they should be of interest to any farmer, whether they're farmers in Clare, Tipperary, Offaly or anywhere else that you are listening to us this morning. Good morning, Philip, and thanks for joining us.
Hello, Jim. Thanks very much for having me on the programme.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. Now, I said that you were on to talk about two events that are taking place, one covering Tipperary and Offaly and the other covering County Clare. And the events are about anti-parasitic products. So can you, I suppose, first of all, remind the listeners of what anti-parasitics or what parasitics really are all about and why we should be very careful with them. And then, I suppose, give me the dates and if you have air codes and things like that and times, that will be very helpful. But let's talk about parasitics at the moment.
Yeah, perfect. So look, these days are all really around sustainable use of these anti-parasitic products that we have currently at the moment to treat worms and ectoparasites on farm. Now look, they're essential, especially here in Ireland, but unfortunately there is resistance out there. And I suppose we need to curb this trend away from resistance developing. And that's what these days are primarily promoting. It's sustainable use around these anti-parasitic products. And I suppose the other aspects around parasites, not just the product itself. So look, these demonstration days, we hope they're going to be both educational and engaging for farmers. We're going to have, on the day, we're going to have a little chat about calf paddocks on the day. Very topical. Everybody has calf paddocks, and I suppose the ways around reducing pasture contamination in these calf paddocks. So we'll talk a little bit about delayed turnout. We're going to talk about strategic grazing dose. In particular, a product called Cydectin LA. It's a long-acting product. Now, we're going to try and engage with farmers around this product, and we have asked a representative from Zoetis, the company that sells this product, to come on the day and demonstrate how to inject this particular product. It's a product that's given behind the ear. Some people will be familiar with it, but others won't. And this might put some people off from using this particular product. So we want to be able to teach people on the day how to give the product properly. We'll demonstrate it, and we'll encourage people on the days to inject themselves if they're happy enough to do so. Then we'll also talk a little bit about rotating of paddocks and then grazing these calf paddocks with older stock at the end of the year to kind of reduce, again, pasture burden. So I suppose the reasoning behind this is reducing pasture burden is that we won't have to be using these anti-helminthic products early on in the season, and that we don't need to use as many, and it's just really good practice. We'll also, on the day, have a lady there from the Spark project, which is a European-led initiative around sustainable use of antiparasitics in grazing ruminants, and she's going to demonstrate how to calibrate dosing equipment and how to clean them afterwards. And this is really an important step in any dosing practice. If you have a gun there that's not delivering the correct amount of wormer, then you're underdosing the animal, and that's encouraging resistance to develop. And that's something that we don't want to happen. Something else that we're going to do on the day is we're going to demonstrate how to use weigh bands, and we'll hopefully give a few of those weigh bands out as well on the day. Again, weights are extremely important when you're dosing animals. You need to be dosing correctly. And unfortunately, weights are often underestimated, and this is something that we kind of want to point out on the day. And so, every farmer should have a weigh band, at home in the medicine cabinet or in the front of the Jeep that they be able to use to, weigh the heaviest calf in the group and then dose appropriately. So then, look, after that, then we'll hopefully have a little bit of food for people that are there on the day. I would like to stress that this is not, this is being hosted by Liffey Mills, but it's definitely not exclusively for Liffey Mills customers. We'd love everybody to attend the day. It's all about supporting farmers and educating, farmers on these few little things that we can do that can have huge benefits in preventing anthelmintic resistance moving forward. So that's the kind of the essence, and that's how we're hoping the day is going to go.
Right. Can I ask you one question?
Yes.
We hear a lot nowadays of fetal dung samples being taken and been sent away to identify the parasite. Will that form part of this particular 2 days?
It will. This is something else that we're going to be chatting about on the day. And I suppose it's a great opportunity for me to point out the fact that Liffey Mills have fecal egg count facilities in store now. So, it couldn't be easier for people to do fecal egg counts. Bring them in to the store when you're going in to, get a couple of bags of nuts. And, you'll have a very quick turnaround on those results. And look, it will allow you to treat appropriately. You could think you have a worm problem, but it could be coccidiosis. You could be going in there with the wrong dose completely, and it's coccidiosis that you need to treat. This is where the fecal egg counts will come in. Now, these fecal egg counts are not just for cattle and sheep, for horses as well. I'd encourage all horse owners to use these facilities at the Liffey Mill stores. They're there for convenience. They're there to promote sustainable use of these products. Look, I see it on the ground. There is resistance out there. There's resistance that farmers know about, and there's an awful lot of resistance out there that people are just not aware of. It just hasn't hit them yet, but it will in a couple of years. And without the fecal egg counting, you're not going to know that you have a problem. So if you engage with the fecal egg counting now, it'll allow you to detect these issues earlier, and we can put a plan in place, and we can put steps in place to make sure that resistance doesn't become an issue on your farm.
Okay. Earlier you spoke about underdosing. What about overdosing? Do farmers overdose a bit as well?
Look, there are some farmers that overdose. Look, I suppose some of the products, you can get into trouble if you overdose with them. So you should stay to your guidelines as regards overdosing. Frequency of dosing is probably the biggest issue when we're talking about overdosing. Is that there's farmers, they're going in there too often with products. More often than not, it's going in there too often with the same product. this is really selective for resistance in your worm population. So rather than overdosing with the product, it's the frequency. People going in there every 3 weeks with a dose, that's probably not the best thing to be doing. We need to move away from that. We need to change practices around the frequency of how often we're dosing.
Okay, now, before I let you go, then, the first event is on the 5th of May. Give me the details on where that's happening.
That's right. So the first is on the 5th of May, just outside of Shinrone, at Kilbally Ski House. The air code for that is R42CH01, and that's going to be from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. So an hour and a half should get, everything done, get a bit of grub and food into everybody as well. And then the second day is being hosted by Mr. Pat Murphy in Quinn, County Clare on the 7th, again from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. I don't have the air code for that day on me at the moment, but if you keep an eye on the socials of Liffey Mills, it'll be all detailed there. And look, again, I just like to encourage anybody that's interested in this at all, anybody that has calf paddocks, has heard about this, injection, is interested in making changes. We just welcome everybody to these days. They're there to educate people. They're not just for Liffey Mills customers. So everybody is welcome.
Philip, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. This has been a very, very interesting discussion, and I sincerely hope you get great crowds at both events next week. The one on the 5th in the Offaly, Tipperary area, and the one on the 7th in County Clare.
I hope so too, Jim. Thanks very much for having me.
Listeners, my final guest this morning is Bernard Lennon from Marlfield in Clonmel, and as you know, he is a regular contributor to AgReport on Tip FM because he's the man who tells me everything that's happening in and around Clonmel. Good morning, Bernard, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Jim. It's a beautiful day.
It sure is, and let's hope that's the way the weather stays. Okay, you have 5 topics you want to run through this morning. Yeah. So, as I say, fire away. It's all yours.
Well, Jim, I'm going to start with the allotments. And the reason I'm going to start with the allotments at this time of the year, everyone's thought turns to the garden. And the pull of the fork and the pull of the shovel is mighty. Mm-hmm. So the Clonmel Allotments and Community Gardens, that's a project that's with Tipperary County Council and the Clonmel Allotments and Community Gardens Committee. And we have 66 plots. It's hard to believe with that many plots. And every single plot is taken. So if you're to go up there now, you hear the happy sound of members digging, weeding, planting, and casting the odd jealous eye at the neighbours to see have they more done or is it better done or what's happening. It's an excellent piece of exercise. It's a great community spirit. It's for 66 different people. They're getting their hands into God's good earth and they're learning how to grow things the hard way, Jim. When you consider that carrots are no longer being grown in this country from what I hear. I heard that last night on the television. And I said to myself, yeah, maybe the allotments is the way to the future. So anyone that wants any help in it, my name is Bernard Lennon. My mobile number is 086 2937 220, and I'm a member of the committee on it.
Okay, so, that's the allotments. Next.
That's the allotments, Jim. That was quick and merciful.
Yeah.
The second one, Jim, is the Marlfield Tidy Village Committee. It's our new name, Jim, because we had to get in under an insurance policy, and association was kind of getting mixed up with lots of things. We're being presented with our awards in Ballykistine on Monday evening. We're the winners of the National Tidy Towns Waters and Communities Award. Now, it's a nice thing to win a national one and something else, but we also won the local one, which would be the regional, covering counties Waterford, Tipperary, Carlow, Kilkenny and Wexford. That's not bad going 2 and 1. Mm-hmm. It's great news. And we're 40 years now minding Marlafield Lake, minding the waters around Marlafield. When we started our committee 40 years ago, there was no sandy banks.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't get down by the lake with bushes and rubbish and dirt thrown into it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it wasn't on people's minds to do those things. You dumped wherever you felt like it, and you kind of do what you want. And in 40 years, we've come, as far as we're concerned, we came a long ways. And in that in particular, we would like to thank Law Crow, which is the local authorities water programme, which are based up there in Ballingran. And we'd like to especially thank the Clonmel Borough District, because they've always found them easy to deal with. You know, people know a lot about local authorities, but if you don't ask, you won't get. And sometimes you might have to ask twice, you might have to ask 3 times. You just, you know, bide your time and your time will come. What we wanted for is our looking after Marlafield Lake, our ability to describe what was on the lake, what's in the lake, so what's under the water, and which is what Law Pro is interested in, and what the general public is interested in is what's over the water. And Marlafield is home to between 14 and 15 different types of water birds. So we took it on the run. Mm-hmm. We decided that we'll try and do something to kind of remember what it is. And the first survey of the birds on Marlafield Lake was done in 2001 by Eddie Foyle, Lord Merson, and myself for Birdwatch Ireland. And we noted that there were 60 different birds around Marlafield. Most of them you can't see because they're land birds, and land birds are a lot shyer than some of the water birds. You might notice water birds are very obvious at times because they feel safer. You're on the land and they're in the water. Well, what we're doing is a citizen science project. So we drew up a booklet, and the booklet has 14, 15 different birds on it. We have a panel on it for filling in your observations. Each bird is described, what their habits are, and there's a picture of both the male and female. And over a year, we want to see what's happening now. And lo and behold, we're 25 or 26 people doing it. Mm-hmm. Adults what came from all walks of life. And you might see a little piece in one of the local papers this week of a lad looking through one of the special scopes. Kevin Collins, as always, Kevin is our helper, or he's at our beck and call sometimes. He's a very, very tolerant man. And he's talking to us and he's telling us what to look for, how to recognise a bird, and what to put on a report. Everything from the condition of the lake to the number of birds, to the time of year, to the number of chicks you see. This we want to see what happens Marlafield Lake over a year and its inhabitants. So it's just to be a nice exercise when it's done. And I believe it's pretty unique as well. So we're kind of very happy to be doing that one.
Okay.
So that kind of is that put to bed now, Jim.
Okay.
For a few months. The next one I want to talk about is the Classic Car Show in Powerstone Park, and that's on Sunday the 3rd of May. And this is to help raise funds for the repairs to St. Mary's Court Society White Theatre roof, the White Memorial Theatre. Now, they're a great group. They put on beautiful shows every year. Half the kids at Clonmel at some stage or other has been on the stage with them. And like all voluntary bodies, money is a problem. Mm-hmm. To repair the roof is going to be somewhere in the bones of 70,000. And if we have a successful day, we'll give them quite a hand towards it. It starts in Powerstone Park. The public end of it starts on Sunday the 3rd of May. It starts at 12 o'clock. Entrance for the public is from the Powerstone Road, not off the main road. You turn off Powerstone as if you're heading to Powerstone Park, and go in the old entrance opposite Star Fuels. Plenty of parking, beautiful level parking, and a very, very easy walk up to where the stands are. You'll be able to, people who haven't been there before will see the horse boxes and see the stands. We have coffee, we have tea, we have sandwiches, there'll be food to go, definitely chips, and we'll have ice cream, hopefully if the weather is really tolerant. We have Brick and Brack show, we have music, we're going to have all the car people selling bits and pieces of cars, the car dealers, and near the end of it, the Mayor of Clonmel will be drawing a ticket for a vintage car, a vintage classic car, very good quality car. So you will, if you're lucky, you buy a ticket, you might win. There's also a second and third prize as well, which are quite good. One's an overnight in Ellen, the other one is a meal in the Talbot. All of them desirable themselves. Hopefully you'll come and lend your support to St. Mary's Court Society and the Clonmel Veteran Vintage and Classic Car Club. No, that's kind of that little bit.
That's Bank Holiday Sunday looked after. Go on.
And Bank Holiday Sunday. Yes, it's the Bank Holiday. We always go for the Bank Holiday weekend. And generally, we've been very lucky with very good weather. So we might
Fingers crossed, Bernard, go on. Where are we going next?
Now we're heading number 4, we're heading to the Marleyfield GA.
Right, okay.
And what we're doing is just to tell you that we're holding our first 50-50 draw this weekend. We're selling tickets. The tickets are €2 each. You know the usual now, kind of split the pot, 50-50. They're all roughly the same. It's to help maintain our club. We have gorgeous grounds. We have 9.5 acres, the most beautiful ground you ever saw, in a very classic location. View to die for, you know that film.
I do.
We want to keep it. So that's that little bit, just to tell you we're there and we're fundraising. And the final one, Jim, and I'll finish up with this, is the farmers' market.
Right, okay.
The farmers' market is where you get real carrots. And these will be grown local. The potatoes will be grown local. The cabbages will come local. The fish is local, coming up from both strands.
Right.
The meats are local as well. You can get organic, if you like, bacon and products the same. Eggs are the same, free range eggs. In fact, it's local materials supplied by local people. We have organic product. We have naturally grown or normal products. We have the finest of cakes and buns. You can get yourself a nice cup of something if you wanted there to drink. That's really it. And again, like everything else, we're always open to new people joining us. Give me a ring at any time. Or better still, I suggest you go to the market first, have a look around, and then head over to the chap selling the eggs. You know, and if you look at him selling the eggs, over in the corner is a lovely little stall. He's the secretary of the farmers market. Trevor Powers is his name, and Trevor is courtesy in itself.
And Bernard, can I ask?
Where we are now, Jim.
Yeah. Can I ask you, how many stalls have you now in the farmers market? And that's there at the school, isn't it?
That's right. That's at alongside Dunn's stores at Oakville. Next door to Dunn's stores. No, that's the handiest way in telling. It's in the front of the schoolyard. We've been there for 15 years now, somewhere like that. We have. In the winter time, the number of stalls go down because the amount of produce goes down. But in the summertime, it picks up. We could have 10 or 12 in the summer, and we'll be back to maybe 7 or 8 in the winter.
Right, and you're absolutely fantastic that way you have been able to keep it going, because these farmers' markets have struggled quite a bit.
They have the supermarkets, you see, looked at what we were selling out and put in an inter-arrange themselves in the counters. They've done the second thing what supermarkets are going to do. They started to open up the counter so you can smell the fish now.
Yeah.
You can smell the cheese. And we have cheese as well, you know.
Yeah.
And we're just about anything you want, it's in there. You can do a nice shop if you want on that on its own. And get a decent coffee as well.
So I gather then, with everything that you said, you have the lovely lake as scenery and a lovely clean part of County Tipperary. You have beautiful food that everybody can eat and that is produced locally. And then you have the most amazing vintage car show and that big draw at the end of it and all that money going to the Choral Society. So you're doing well there, Bernard.
We're doing well. And you must remember, of all the towns in Ireland, Clonmel's name is about food. Clonmala.
Clonmala, yeah.
We're actually named for food. The town is named for food.
Okay.
So well, we should be the foodie capital. If we get our act together, we could be the foodie capital.
Anyway, I'm going to have to cut you loose. Thank you ever so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah.
That, listeners, was Bernard Lennon from the village of Marlfield. That, listeners, is Agri Report for this week. I hope you enjoyed the show and that you'll join me at the same time next week. Coming up next is the news at 10 o'clock. And after that, Eamon Dwyer presents Down Your Way.